We've seen all the reports and the rumors that the Toronto Raptors locker room this most recent season certainly wasn't as tight-knit as it had been in previous years, and this was further established by the on-the-court product as the Toronto Raptors just didn't look right when they went out there on the court this most recent season. The vibes were off, the team wasn't performing, and it was all really confirmed when Nick Nurse ended up getting fired at the end of this year, despite the fact just a year prior, Masai Ujiri was coming out in press conferences saying, nobody can have Nick Nurse. All other teams want him, you can't have him. He was comparing him to Messi, to Ronaldo, to heck, even Kobe Bryant. And then just a year later, he gets canned by the organization. So, that was shocking, but it kind of further established that the locker room, there was something going on. We heard all the reports and stuff, but something had to be worse, and now we are getting those details, as it seems like things were worse than we ever thought, and there was a clear divide, apparently, by the veterans on this Toronto Raptors team and the younger guys on this team. There's two camps, there's a little divide going on, so we'll break down that report that came out today here now, but before we do, just want to say, if you guys want to stay up to date with everything regarding the Toronto Raptors, I don't usually plug it at the beginning of videos. Definitely hit that subscribe button. We've been posting a lot of videos lately, trying to get you every single update on every bit of news over the past recent weeks. So if you want all that, definitely hit that sub button. It would mean the world to me, Riker. See more views growing. See if we get those sub numbers up. We're getting close to 30K subs. So doing a little plug. I don't usually do it at the beginning of vids, but I digress. Let's dive back into the action as a report came out from Michael Grange saying that sources have described a team where veterans Fred VanVleet and Pascal Siakam were deeply frustrated with the younger players on the roster, and VanVleet let them know about it. Something the younger set didn't appreciate at all. So basically, the Toronto Raptors' top two guys were frustrated by the younger players on the squad, as veterans sometimes do, and Fred VanVleet especially would be talking directly to the younger guys, the Scotty Barnes of the world, the Gary Trent Jr.'s of the world, and apparently that caused a little bit of a divide. The younger players were not happy with Fred VanVleet, the leadership style of him attacking them on that front. Basically, Nurse wasn't able to bridge the divide as the players kept getting hurt and open three after open three drew only iron. So losing made everything worse. So obviously a lot of people are going to come out here and criticize the heck out of Fred VanVleet as a leader, as he's the guy that's out there on the court that bared a lot of the responsibility for keeping the team cohesive as the point guard, as one of our higher paid guys, just an all-star guy that, holds himself to a higher standard. When he underperforms, he takes a lot of the heat, but Nick Nurse, I guess, also has gotten a lot of heat as well. But the fact, it's on your head coach to make sure that the veterans and the young players, they are all sort of on the same page. When the Raptors have had a two timeline sort of structure before the Warriors made that buzzword cool, right? We had those DeMar DeRozan, Kyle Lowry eras where Pascal Siakam, Fred VanVleet, those were the young guys coming up during that era. And they developed nicely under Dwayne Casey to really where Nick Nurse could pick them up and turn them into a championship squad. They were already developed by Casey, and then Nurse kind of had a full contingent of guys that were bought in, that knew the systems, that knew what they were doing, and then took the team to the championship. So that's sort of what happened. But then when Nick Nurse kind of had to bridge the gap, have a set of young players, some older guys on the team, some vets, it just didn't work out that nicely. And Grange went on to say that subsequently the 2023 season tale of woe began to play out in ways most remember but would prefer to forget. Consecutive breakdowns at the hands of the New Orleans Pelicans and Brooklyn Nets on the road signaled a malaise that was urgent enough for Masai Ujiri to address the team personally and second-year star Scotty Barnes specifically. Now, we heard the Scotty Barnes report come out during this year, over the course of the season, where Masai Ujiri directly called out Scotty Barnes due to his underperforming, the fact that he didn't take that leap. Whatever the heck it was, Masai Ujiri needed to say, he talked to Scotty Barnes directly to try to get a message communicated effectively. And when Nick Nurse got fired, we also heard the reports that one of the reasons Nurse did get canned because he couldn't hold the players accountable. Masai Ujiri too many times had to come down and set the players straight, when really that's the coach's job, to make sure everyone's in the right position, they're all being sort of coached at a certain way. And obviously, it's a meme to death that Fred VanVleet's like the teacher's pet of the Toronto Raptors, where he was let off the leash to do whatever the heck he wanted out there on the court, whereas the younger guys, they get pulled as soon as they get let anything minimal they do something wrong, they're pulled from the game. So there was that double standard going on there with Nick Nurse. And again, we're seeing this report pop up again, but Masai Ujiri calling out Scottie Barnes midway through the season. It goes on to say that it was the first of a number of times Masai Ujiri felt the need to make his feelings known about the way the team was playing and individuals were performing. He did it again in the weeks before the February trade deadline, laying into the team for selfish play and poor body language. The message was straighten up or be shipped out. Now, the Toronto Raptors didn't end up really straightening up or any of the players getting shipped out, so that message wasn't really established or pushed there by this Raptors team, at least at the trade deadline. But a really interesting part of this, and before we dive into the analysis and the crazy stuff that I'm going to end it off with from Grange's article, but things were tense enough that Nurse was planning his exit even then, believing that he would be fired. He may well have welcomed it, except nothing really followed other than weeks of trade rumors that touched almost every player in the rotation. So apparently Nick Nurse, over the course of this most recent season, midway through, thought he might have been fired halfway through the year, which certainly would have came as a shock because he did so well the season prior. Obviously, he's coming a couple years off a championship. Still surprising to me the Raptors actually, given all the information we had, canned him in the first place. But, given how tumultuous, how divided, split the locker room ended up becoming, it makes sense why Nick Nurse certainly got fired at this point. And you look at it, there's a lot of blame to be had on all sides. I mean, we've seen the videos of the course of the year about Fred VanVleet hucking up shots and the body language of guys like Scottie Barnes, Gary Trent Jr., just looking really disappointed when he took some of those shots that just weren't the right place, for sure. Especially as your point guard, if you're a microwave two guard, and that's sort of what I've always wanted the role for Fred VanVleet to be on this team. That's why it works so well with Kyle Lowry on the roster. But when you're sort of that microwave guy, then sure, you can take some bad shots. But when you're running point, and Fred VanVleet was the primary ball handler all of last season, you have to set players up. And if you're also the leader of the team and you're just taking egregiously bad shots and the coach is not holding you accountable, you get why guys like Scottie Barnes, who haven't really been through the trenches with you, who haven't come up and won a championship and have that tight-knit relationship that a guy like Pascal might have been, you get why they'd be frustrated, and came across visually out there on the court at times over the course of the season. But the interesting name in this article that's getting thrown out is Pascal Siakam. As we saw here, that the veterans, Siakam and VanVleet especially. So we knew the sort of Fred VanVleet frustrations, the divides there. People are also pointing to Scottie Barnes unfollowing Fred VanVleet on Instagram as soon as he signed with the Houston Rockets. But the fact Siakam also expressed frustration with this team is interesting. Now, it seems like even the way the articles word it, Fred VanVleet let them know about it. Siakam wasn't a guy that's going to get in their face because by all accounts, it seems like the relationship between guys like Siakam and the younger dudes seems to be pretty good, right? The relationships, I don't think Siakam's out there being a prima donna out there in the locker room, going at players for not doing the right things. And it was really Fred VanVleet who was criticizing the younger dudes especially. So I don't think this is a necessarily means Siakam just hates the young dudes, wants to move on or anything like that. Siakam, by all accounts, wants to be on this Raptors team, whether it's because of the contract or not, but he wants to be in it. He's embracing the squad, and I think it's fine. I don't think this, just because his name is dropped and a guy that's frustrated with the current roster, means he should immediately be traded, but it could factor into all of the other rumors that have been going out there as of late. So it's pretty interesting. We also had that Thaddeus Young, Scottie Barnes confrontation midway through the season. It was actually Siakam who calmed everyone down. We saw it at half court. They were visual on the court. Scottie Barnes and Thad get into a confrontation. That was one of the last moments we've seen Thaddeus Young on a court. After that moment, he didn't get a lot of run for the Toronto Raptors, but I guess that was only at the half court of the game as well. But I digress on that. Things seem to be worse this most recent season than we all sort of anticipate. I guess some people were projecting that there were some cancers in the locker room and hyping all that sort of stuff up, but I don't know. Hopefully next season with Darko coming in, things will be straightened up a little bit. I believe that would be a focal point in terms of what Masai Ujiri is looking for in a new coach and a new hire, someone that will hold the players accountable, run a certain type of offense. It just makes more sense so players are less frustrated. And with Fred VanVleet gone, it seems like he instigated a lot of the criticism toward the younger guys. Hopefully the vibes, regardless of if we win more games, I just want this team to be watchable again. Obviously, I want us to win. I want us to be back into championship contention, but watchability is the number one priority right now. And hopefully this squad is coming back with just better vibes out there on the court. But let me know what you guys think about all this Toronto Raptors news. As said at the beginning of the video, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. It means the world to me. Anyways, I'm signing out. Cheers.